Minutes. This is the fifth time I'm doing this.
Hey there! Welcome! I am Jessica Carrots Yap, and this is Yap Chat, where I, Jessica Carrots Yap, chat with this camera, alone, in the dining room. In all seriousness, Yap Chat is a name that my friends Michael and Gelton helped me to come up with, and I thought it would be cool to just chat with you, the viewer, on things that are probably of interest. I have some stories to share, and I've actually been wanting to share this particular story for a while now. It's college acceptance. I graduated Harvard in 2015, and I know that with college acceptance letters rolling out in the next few weeks, it's probably really relevant, especially to you high school seniors and high school juniors. I'm not sharing my story simply for the sake of, ooh, I got into Harvard. Rather, I know that it can be a very stressful and anxiety-inducing time, and I just wanted to share my story to shed some light on the realities of applying and getting into Harvard, and I want to speak some truth to a lot of lies and anxieties that are probably crowding many of your minds right now. So, without further ado, here are 5 tips on getting into Harvard. Actually, I realized it would probably be helpful to provide a little bit of context and background about myself first, and then go into my 5 tips. So I went to public high school. I did not rank. I never took SAT or ACT prep classes, and to be honest, my reach school, my dream school, was UC Berkeley. I only applied to Harvard at the suggestion of a really kind college guidance counselor. I thought she was crazy, but my mom trusted her, and so I applied. I ended up getting into Harvard and Yale, rejected from Columbia, a handful of other liberal arts private schools on the East Coast, but I did get into the state schools that I applied to. I ended up matriculating into Harvard in 2011, and I graduated in 2015 with a concentration in Earth and planetary science, and I lived in Foho, you know. So given that background, it was a surprise, to say the least, to myself and to many others that I ended up getting accepted into Harvard. A lot of people, myself included, had this idea that the people who got into Harvard were these super competitive type A individuals who were planning on getting into Harvard from the womb. But to my surprise, once I got to school, I found out that a lot of my friends, a lot of my peers, were similar to myself. No one really ever planned on getting into Harvard. Sure, it was a dream school for a lot of people, but I don't think people were aiming for it and knew exactly what they needed to do to get there. Rather, they embodied the following 5 characteristics, which are going to be my 5 tips. I have some notes on my phone, so I will be looking down a bit. Sorry, I don't mean to break the eye contact. Alright, so number 1. While I never ranked, I did try my best to do well in school, and so did a lot of my friends. I think good test scores and striving to learn beyond the average level, so taking APs if they're offered, or courses at your local community college if your school does not have APs, stuff like that. You don't have to load up. A lot of my classmates were taking 5 APs. I think the most that I ever took at once were 3. So you don't need to take the most, but it's important, I think, for Harvard to see that you're challenging yourself to learn. 2. I noticed that a lot of people throughout school focused at excelling at what they did because they enjoyed it. For instance, I signed up for AP World History my sophomore year because I genuinely wanted to learn about the world, its culture, and its history. In my junior and senior years, I signed up for AP Environmental Science and AP Biology because I was genuinely interested in those topics and knew that I wanted to consider something environmentally related in college. Number 3, extracurricular and academic interests tended to be particularly unique, and individuals excelled at pursuing those interests. It wasn't really ever to be unique for the sake of being unique. And while I know that there are definitely people who do that, I found that for the most part, people were unique simply because they had a genuine desire to be pursuing what they were. For example, my friends and I were really into gardening and urban farming in high school. And so a friend of mine, Courtney, amazing individual, she had this idea to start a garden in the back of our school where there was spare land, basically. And so we spent a year shoveling horse poop and cardboard onto this bare land in order to build up soil. And the following year, she located a $100,000 grant, and our team, as well as parent volunteers and teachers, applied to this grant to secure this money to even to build up further this garden at the back of our school. That's just one of the things that we did in high school, but it definitely isn't your typical sort of extracurricular. And I feel that a lot of my peers had a similar story. Number 4, individuals in high school were consistent and followed through on their activities. You'll hear a lot about pursuing your passions and doing what you love, and I think that's important, but it's also important to follow through. And individuals have demonstrated an ability to envision a very creative and passionate idea, but to then follow through. with that. And number 5, individuals were seeking out a Harvard education because they wanted to be sharpened and challenged and pushed. They sought to hone their skills and knowledge and to grow personally. So those are my 5 tips on preparing yourself to have a competitive application to get into Harvard. Like I said, I was never planning on getting into this school. It really was a gift. The people who supported me, my family, a gift from God. And a lot of this is making sense to me in retrospect. In the moment, I was completely shocked. And of course, there definitely will always be individuals who are able to strategize the sorts of numbers, the sorts of activities to take to get a competitive looking application for these top ranked schools. But I really want to encourage you, whoever's viewing this, but especially high school juniors, sophomores who are preparing to apply to college, and seniors who are waiting to decide what college to eventually attend. I really encourage you guys to focus on those 5 tips I gave. Not because you should all be aiming for Harvard, but because if you're focusing on those things, then you will have created a high school experience and built a skill set that will carry you far no matter where you go to university, no matter what school accepts you. You know, so often I hear stories of these students who are striving to get into these top ranking schools for the sake of the name and the network and the prestige. And although, like, I'm honest, that is a huge factor in the appeal of a lot of these schools, it shouldn't be the only thing. You shouldn't feel like you have to change yourself in order to get to a level that everybody says you should be at. Kind of like a relationship, you know? Sometimes we find ourselves thinking that we should want this particular relationship and we'll change ourselves in order to receive that affirmation or receive that love. But you end up losing yourself in the process. Don't change yourself to think or to fit what you think is necessary to get into Harvard or Yale or Princeton or UCLA or insert whatever school. Strive on being excellent, cultivating and honing the skill sets, the gifts, and the passions that you have consistently and with follow through. Apply to college, see where you get in, and the schools that you get into, that will be an indicator of where it's a good fit, where you can thrive, where you'll be pushed to grow. I think figuring out a college to apply to and eventually attend should be more a matter of discerning what is a good fit for you, for your work style, for your academics, for your social life, for your mental health, for just you as a person. I don't want to be ignorant to a lot of the practicality that goes into choosing a college. Of course, finances can be a limiting factor. I know it was for my family. Or trying to figure out what's going to position you best for a good career so that you can go and support your family down the road. Definitely, those are very important and prioritize that. But I do want to acknowledge that people should have the freedom to consider and be honest about where they're going to thrive and not simply go somewhere because they feel like they're being forced to. And I know that a lot of young people face this pressure, especially now, even versus when I was applying to school. So I just want to encourage you, practice those 5 tips, learn how to thrive and be excellent, and attend a school where you can continue to thrive and be excellent. So I hope that eased a lot of concern that you might have had. I hope it was an encouraging story. Let me know if it was helpful. This is my first time doing something like this. Comment, like, and subscribe down below, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye.
Suavemente, bésame, que quiero sentir tus labios besándome otra vez. Suavemente, bésame, que quiero sentir tus labios besándome otra vez. Suave, bésame.